Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Commander Duffy, thank you for being here today with your leadership team. We very much appreciate it. I want to recognize, and if you guys would stand up, I'd appreciate it, Jack Hawley, the VFW State Commander for Montana, as well as Tim Peters, Art Whittam, Virginia Arnold, and Bob Schwegel. You guys stand, please. Thank you for being here. And I want to thank you for what you do every day for Montana's veterans. Commander Duffy, we are here because Congress should take its cues from you. The VFW provides a critical perspective on how to best address veterans' challenges. Your members have left the safety of our shores to serve our nation overseas in uniform. They also provide critical services every single day to veterans and families in Montana and across this country, and I want to thank you for your continued commitment and service. As I told the American Legion this morning, we hold these hearings because only the VSOs, and not partisan political groups or their pundits on cable, can help Congress focus its oversight and legislative efforts to ensure that veterans have access to quality care and benefits. That means taking cues from you on how to hold the VA accountable, ensure that the VA has the capacity to meet the needs of all veterans, and fixing choice in community care. You're going to hear from a lot of folks today about how much they unconditionally support veterans. While showing appreciation for those words, I hope you'll also hold them accountable for their actions. It's a critical time for the VA. Today, it is confronted with looming and dramatic funding shortfalls and a choice program that, at least in Montana, is just flat not working. Many veterans have lost faith in the VA over the past few years. We've won some of them back, but much more work needs to be done. Rather than just giving a veteran a card to seek care in the private sector, the path forward should be an integrated network of VA and community providers. This means the VA should continue to serve as a coordinator and a primary provider of care while the private sector fills in the gaps. Commander Duffy, I want to commend your organization for its work not only on our CARE 2017, your recently published report on veterans health care, but also for your work on the independent budget. It is clear that the VFW is a leader when it comes to gauging feedback from veterans and outlining an appropriate path forward on the delivery of care. Your input, your guidance will be critically important as we move forward. So hopefully Congress will spend less time patting itself on the back and more time rolling up its collective sleeves to enact meaningful reforms on behalf of the veterans of this nation. I know it's what you expect, but it's also what you deserve, and I look forward to that discussion today. On a sidebar, I want to tell you it was some 48 years ago that a VFW member who happened to be my bus driver asked me to play taps at the veterans' funerals across our county. It was for that reason that VFW bus driver and good guy set me on the road to politics. Some might like that, some might not. But the fact is, it was that experience, and what an incredible experience it has been in my lifetime, where I played taps for many of the greatest generation, even a few World War I members back then, and gave me the self-confidence to be able to serve here today. So you've helped more than just your veteran population, and I want to thank you very much for that. Commander Duffy, welcome. I appreciate your presence being here with your team. Thank you, Commander Duffy, for your remarks, and thank you for your last statement. I think that anything that we can do and help you to help remove the stigma around from mental health, to make sure that those soldiers pick up the phone that's just good news. To get them the help they need to get them on recovery. I want to commend your organization for its work on our CARE 2017. It's a recently published report on veterans' health, and the report says that veterans want to fix, not dismantle VA health care. Now, I just want you to flesh this out a little bit more. When I read that, fix instead of dismantle, how I interpret that is that the VA is the primary provider for health care to the veterans, and the private sector fills in the cracks. Is that the same way you read it, or do you read it a different way?
Senator, we see it that the VA system itself provides quality care. The issue has always been the accessibility. And if we can increase the accessibility, and we are on a positive trajectory, as that report shows, of increasing the accessibility, more and more veterans will be able to get that quality care. And part of the accessibility, quite honestly, goes to the ability for the VA to hire the folks that they need, the clinicians, the doctors, and those that support those positions. And currently, as I said in my opening statement, some of the procedures and hiring on the federal level aren't as nimble as they are in the civilian population. So from a competitive standpoint, whether it's the compensation or just the process of bringing these doctors on board, the VA needs to have the ability to reform to be able to bring the professionals on board so the accessibility for the veterans is there. And that is part of it.
One of the things, I mean, you talked about hiring, and one of the things that I believe I talked with the members from Montana about is that, and I appreciate you bringing up the red tape. Salaries may be a problem, but there's opportunity to boost those up. But we've got to make sure they have the budget ability to do that. And cutting the red tape on how long it takes to hire, because it's ridiculous, quite frankly. But there's also the issue of accountability. And sometimes accountability is in direct conflict with the ability to hire, if you know what I mean. Because I think people want to have their due process. By the same token, the folks aren't cutting the mustard, ought to be showing the door. What's the VA's thoughts on that?
You want the VFW's thoughts on that?
Sorry, the VFW. Shulkin would have been honored by me saying that, by the way.
You know, listen, it really comes down to a simple thing. We will not accept, will never accept any veteran that is not treated properly. We certainly will never accept a VA employee knowingly not taking care of a veteran or actively doing something that is defined as wrongdoing or malfeasance. I mean, that's it. As far as the hiring side of it, yes. It obviously compounds it. If I have to send somebody from accountability, the discipline side of it, and up to and including, by God, if it's needed, we should do it, terminate them. It creates an opening. It creates then that vacuum that we need, the abilities I just spoke about before, to hire folks in there. It also speaks to, quite honestly, that in the VA system, they can't hire somebody. They can't build a bench. They can't hire somebody until there's a vacancy.
Right.
So there is no ability to overlap to be able to bridge when you have to make some of those tough but required decisions.
Yeah, right on. So, thank you. Could you talk a little bit, because I just want to get it in the record, the VFW's perspective on VA being the primary payer. What advantages does that give directly to the veterans if the VA is designated as primary payer?
Well, I think quite honestly, first and foremost, it gives them the peace of mind that when they go out, if it's in the choice program, that they don't have some paper chasing them, some bill chasing them. I mean, you know, when the veteran made the deal with the government to put on the uniform of the country, nobody talked to them then about some sort of a secondary payer program that was going to chase them years later. As I remember the deal, I put the uniform on, you're going to take care of me. My government's going to have my back. I was not told that somewhere years later on that I would be subjected to the bureaucracy and the administrative shuffle of bills coming for care that I earned.
I appreciate that, Commander, and I appreciate you getting that on the record. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is very quick. I mentioned in my opening statement that Congress should take its cue from you and the other VSOs. I think Secretary McDonald's done a great job setting the tone for what should be expected, and I think Secretary Shulkin will follow his lead for taking your input and using it to make a difference. Have you or any of your representatives from the VFW personally met with the President?
Personally met with the President?
Yeah.
No, but I sense it's imminent.
You sense it's imminent? Yeah, well, that's why I'm asking the question, because I want it to be imminent. And just very briefly, what would your top priority be when you talk to him?
Sequestration, 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 sequestration.
Good answer.